Hi Aries, this is your November reading. I wanted to ask before I forget to like, share, and subscribe, and also to leave a one-word comment, and I'd love to pull a card for you. So let's get started with your reading. Spirit, what message do you have for Aries? What message do you have for Aries? We have ego, we have balance, and we have the Knight of Swords. Okay. I also like this other deck. It's tiny but mighty. It's a Lenormand deck. Spirit, what message do you have for Aries? What message do you have for Aries? We have Lady, we have Whip, and we have Clouds. And at the bottom we have Stork, which is New Beginning. That's awesome. And then I also love this other deck. It's the inner deck. It tells us a little bit about our inner self that a lot of times we don't take the time to listen to. So Spirit, what message do you have for Aries? We have flow with the rhythm, you know the way, and you are worthy. And then at the bottom we have go inward, which is a great one. It's time to connect with your inner child, which a lot of the times we're all so busy we don't really take the time to play a little, have fun. So we start off with ego, the illusion of being trapped. Accept responsibility for your situation and then make choices that support your path to happiness. Addictions and unhealthy habits. So sometimes, I'm sure we're all guilty of it, but we have certain things we're addicted to, which doesn't necessarily have to be what everybody usually assumes, which is drugs, alcohol, other things. Some of us are addicted to soda or candy or junk food or fast food, which is like a spiral effect because then you're wasting money, which puts you behind on bills because you're overindulging on things. So it's basically saying, not to overdo it. But you have lady here, but I never feel like in a reading, sex specific because, we have man and woman here and cutting the change, cutting the addiction, basically. But not sure if there's a lady helping, with that addiction or, I always see her in the picture on the Lenormand, like kind of like a little Cinderella. Sometimes that can incorporate us as well. We're overdoing things. You can even overindulge on things or, over addicted to things by always being organized, like overdoing your chores and constantly feeling the house needs to be up to par where, you see this other one that we had with the going inward, it basically wants you to find your inner child, have a little fun. Don't be Cinderella all the time, And here we have flow with the rhythm. Get lost in the rhythm of movement today. So rather than, worrying about all the other things all the time, sometimes taking a little time out, go with the rhythm flow. Sometimes, when you hear a song and you want to bust a move. We also have here balance, which is, it says, blending the ideas of others with your own to create something extraordinary, successful, compromise, the power of diversity, self-control, patience, and balance. So maybe because this is in the middle, maybe mid-November, you start to realize that, hey, I do need to balance a little work and a little play, especially the month of November is a time of Thanksgiving. And sometimes, we're trying to be the best Thanksgiving host there is and make the top notch, recipes and all that kind of stuff. And we're trying to work and clean the house so everything looks perfect when people come over. I feel like, in the middle of the month, you learn that, hey, I need to balance it out a little bit because if not, then, it's just a spiral effect, it's not going to get any better. So I'm really glad that the middle of the month it says you learn to balance it out. And then you got the whip here, which isn't interpreted in several different ways. You can kind of see in the background there's like a man or king or something back here cracking that whip, but maybe because you're balancing things you're like starting to crack that whip on it, whether it's at work and you're saying, okay guys, I can't take on all this, we need to come up with a compromise. I need you and you to do this, all the little tedious tasks, and you and you do that. So it gives you a balance and you get to accomplish, maybe the harder tasks, of, especially, again, I don't know why I keep feeling like spirits told me to steer back to Thanksgiving, but, it just makes me feel like, here for you to balance and be the host and all that stuff. Now you're like, okay, it's going to be more like a potluck. You bring this, you bring that, you bring drinks, you bring food, because I actually want to enjoy the holiday. I don't want to feel like, I'm overdoing it and doing 20 million different jobs. When there's 20 people coming, 20 people can bring some. That's 20 less things I got to do. And then on here, you also have, the way, trust your intuition on this journey. So yeah, if you feel you got to crack that whip, you're going based on your intuition. You got to start asking people to help out, because if you don't ask, they're going to expect you to just do it on your own. And we have the Knight of Swords here, which is decisive, focused, driven, defensive, events that move with great speed. Choose intellectual responses to challenges rather than emotional. Sudden or unexpected changes. Review your options carefully. But this is also a good card because you can tell the horse is taking off. A lot of the other ones that are like, the Knight of Pentacles or the King of Pentacles, the horse is like standing still. This is you like taking action, you know, getting through. Swords are always cutting through things, getting to what needs to be done. And with the Lenormand here, I see the clouds, which sometimes when you're doing all this other stuff and you're taking care of all these other things, your head could be a little clouded. And you just feel like there's just, you see all these faces in here. It's just so much information. And sometimes I feel like, especially when I see a sword, I'm not sure if you're big into technology or on your cell phone a lot or social medias and things like that. Sometimes with the clouds, it can just fill our head with so much stuff, whether it's like the news and so much garbage, where it's like you walk outside, it's beautiful out there. It reminds me of Bob Marley, where he's like, everything, three little birds on my doorstep singing sweet songs, because here he is like, I walk outside, the world's a whole different place when I look at it through that lens rather than on a phone or on the internet and stuff. But it says, you are worthy. You are worthy of it all, my love, which, here you can accomplish anything. You see this guy going for it. It definitely shows you're fully capable of accomplishing things. And especially with this at the bottom with the stork, that's a new beginning. So I definitely see great things. But I look forward to our next reading. Have a happy Thanksgiving. Bye.